which of slavery is interesting. There was a celebrity, I believe her name is Michaels. She's a fitness person, beautiful lady. And she probably meant well because we try to defend our cultures and stuff like that. And there's no shame in it. No shame in it. But she said that, I just heard a clip of it. She said that, only 2% of the dominant culture during the slavery period owned slaves. Not sure why she would make that point. Not even sure why it's important. But that's not the truth. That's not the truth. It's actually 25% to 46%, depending on which state, right? But about 25% to 46%. Mississippi had about 46%, I think. And there was another state, South Carolina, I think, had 46% as well. Something like that. It was real high. But nationally, it was about 25%. But the better question is, what percentage of the black population was slaves? That's the better question. And at that time, it was upwards of 90%. Something like that. It was really high. 95%. It was ridiculously high. Right? Those statistics. And if you have that type of statistics, that high percentage, oh my goodness, black and brown people, slaves, historians know it's going to affect us today. It just is. Not that we can't overcome it, not that we are overcoming it and we move forward, but it just is. And even so, right? Even so. And it's not that black and brown people didn't try to overcome it or couldn't overcome it. It's just that then that period of Jim Crow came into effect after the war, after the Civil War. And so when Jim Crow came into it, like if you just left Jim Crow out of the history books, if you left Jim Crow out of it, when black people were trying to succeed, have businesses, help one another, if you left that out of there, we'd be so much further ahead than we are right now. But Jim Crow was for 100 years, right? Slavery was 240. Jim Crow was 100 years. 100 years after the Civil War. Some say it was worse than slavery. And what they were doing to black and brown people, we all know. But the point is they were holding them back. Holding them back in every way, economically, in every way possible. But there's this other factor in it. Because a lot of the slaves were held by rich people. They were held by rich people. And so to Michael's point, she was saying there's just a few slave owners, I guess. But to her point, there's a lot of, the slaves were held by rich people. And it was getting to the point that the rich people were at odds with the poor whites. And the reason why is because they were having a hard time getting jobs. And the jobs they did get, it didn't pay much. Because if you have a slave that's out there, if you have slaves and your slaves are free labor, you ain't paying them nothing, what kind of environment do you think is going to be for the whites who are trying to work? How do they compete against the slavery thing, this free labor? They couldn't. So they were becoming upset. They were working with the blacks. Believe it or not, they were starting to work with the blacks. And I can't remember what they were having, where they were like roll-ups or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called, where blacks and whites were working together. So the rich whites came up with this great idea, which is they gave white people power over black people in the sense that they could police them. And the sense that they had some sort of prestige over them. They gave them that little bit so that they can divide them from working with the blacks and putting the rich in a situation, because there wasn't as many rich as there was, like today, as there was the whites. So they gave them that. And to this day, not as much, but to this day, all the way through Jim Crow, that's how whites felt. They had that little bit of policing over blacks, that I'm better than you, this and that. That's where it came from. It was planted. And today, politicians are still playing that game with poor whites and giving them some sort of a power, superficial power over blacks, so that they don't go after their best interests, so they don't get together and go after their best interests. You can say it's political, and you can also call it business.